What is up, YouTube? So today I got another product review for you. This brand is JetBeam. It's a phenomenal light, and each one of these has a different function. And why should you buy JetBeam? Well, I'll tell you why. We'll get into this product review, go over the JetBeam series, and see which one is the best light for your keychain. Okay, so before going over the functions and specifications with the JetBeam, let's go over basically what you get in the box. Okay, so of course all the boxes are the same, or all the plastic inserts that you get are the same. This one happens to be the smaller one. Okay, so before we talk about the models, let's see what you get in the bag. Okay, so when you first pop it open, of course you have this this little card index here that basically tells you everything about the light in front. And then you have your lanyard, typical lanyard with the cinching little clevis there, and then you can fish it through the light. You get your silicone packet, you get an extra O-ring to keep the water out. Okay, and then you get your warranty card and certificate and instructions and all that stuff. So if you're interested in this stuff, basically you're gonna read it. I don't have to explain it to you. It's typical stuff that you get, right? So I'll post up on the top, somewhere in the top of this video, I'll put all the specifications for each one, so that way you can read them out and push pause and do whatever it is you need to do to see which one you like. So what we're going to end up doing is go over the specs real quick before we get into the functions. We'll start from bottom to top. Okay, so you have the JetBeam U. 135 lumen output, requires one AAA battery. Okay, it has a throw of 46 meters and a 35-hour runtime, and that would be at its lowest setting. The one in the middle is the JetBeam 1MK. It has 480 lumens of output. It requires one AA battery, or you could run one 14500 battery, which is of course your rechargeable AA. That light itself, the one 480 lumens, if you want that full potential, you're going to have to run the rechargeable one. That has a 130 meter throw and a 100-hour runtime on its lowest setting. Then on top you have the JetBeam 2MK. It puts out 510 lumens, 138 meter throw, 150-hour runtime, and that runs on one CR123 battery or the rechargeable, your choice. Okay, they all have a 1 meter drop rating, and then they all also have a 2 meter water rating. Okay, so let's get into the function, why you would use them, and which one is right for you. Okay, so before we run these lights, I want to show you the features of why you should buy one of these JetBeams. Okay, so all of them, for the exception of the U series JetBeam, so the smaller one, all have threaded ends. Okay, so they both have threaded ends. A lot of JetBeams, they'll have this option. Okay, but these ones are considered their keychain ones because they have the holes on each side. The small one has the same thing, so it's keychain, but the small one does not have the threaded end. I wish it did, because that would be the best combination between both of these lights, but it doesn't. So you ask, why would it have a threaded end, right? You could use it for a tripod or whatever, some type of mount to hold it, or you could purchase this glass breaker. Okay, so JetBeam put some good amount of effort into this design. It's pretty cool how they put the little indentions all the way around it, whereas, you know, they could have said, oh, I'll just, you know, get a mold and make it into a point and that's it. But no, they went the extra step and actually put little serrations in it, or little indentions. Okay, And then they have this hole, the thread, and they also give you an O-ring, and then an O-ring, an extra one just in case. Okay, so what this glass breaker could also be used for, you could use it in a self-defense situation. Okay, so it's a multi-purpose tip, and all you do is screw it into the base of your JetBeam. So all you gotta do is screw it in there and it's set. One thing I wish they did was make this end cap a little bit deeper where the threads are, or shave some thread off of here, which I'll do. And the reason for that is when you tighten it up, okay, you look closely, you can see a gap around here. I don't know if that's noticeable, but you can see the gap. And to make it look better, of course, I would have made it flush. But what you can do is put a screwdriver or something small in there and then really crank down on this thing to tighten it. And the reason why you would want this glass breaker is you put it on your keychain, right? You could also put your keychain through here. Just make sure whatever keychain you have, it fits through the little hole there. And the design of this clip right here, it is not a universal clip that could flip from one side to the other, so it's not modular. It always has to be bezeled down when you put it in your pocket, because they don't have the machining on this side to accept the clip. But the cool thing about the clip is you have a ridge right here, okay? And the cool thing about that ridge is it indexes nicely in your hand. So when you put your pinky around the base, your pinky actually grips around the base pretty nicely. So it acts as a stabilization point of contact. And then your finger comes around, and then your other finger comes around, so it fits into that clip pretty nicely. And then you could put your index finger around the bezel and your thumb around the top, right? So in a defensive situation, you could basically use your light as normal and then put your thumb over it if for some reason you need to cover the light, but you still have a hammer fist grip, okay? So you still have this glass breaker as your defensive tool. And when you hit something downward, okay, what's going to end up happening is your hand's going to want to slide down, right? So having this angle on this clip will allow for your hand to not slip down the light easily. So it acts as a grip point, okay? So having that slope is really nice when gripping this size of flashlight. Even the same thing with this one. So I'll put it on the medium size one, the AA, so you can see. So if you have a wider hand, this one might be a better option for you, because you could grip a lot more of the light. And then same thing, hammer fist, okay? So that's one of the reason why I like JetBeam, is because their innovation for defense is pretty cool. And if you didn't want it, you could still run the flashlight like this without having a serrated bezel that catches on your pocket and other things as you insert it into your pocket. So that's one cool thing about JetBeam, okay? So also the design, if you look at JetBeam's design, this is not a black finish. It's like a slight matte gunmetal color with a black sheen to it. So it has this unique look to it, okay? Out of all three of these, the one that takes the CR123 actually has a chrome bezel on it. The other ones are all the same type of. Okay, so let's compare the beam between the three, okay? So I'll turn them all on. So this is the first setting, okay? And we'll compare them all. So this one has the AAA in it, Energizer. This one has a AA Energizer in it. And this one has the CR123 battery in it. And none of the three are rechargeable. Okay, so I'm gonna dim it, and you could see the beam. So at the lowest setting here, you can't really see the CR123 beam on camera as much as the other two, okay? And there's a reason for that. So you see it? Okay. So if you look at the actual output itself, so when looking at the hotspot, so the smaller one, the one that takes the AAA, has a wider hotspot, but it's not as intense. And the AAA has a more defined hotspot and a more defined edge for the flood. And then as you can see, the CR123 has a small hotspot and virtually no flood that shows up in the camera. Okay, so I'll go to the next setting. Okay. So the CR123 is a little bit brighter than it was before. It's almost equivalent to these two when they were on their lowest setting. Okay, there's a reason for it. I'll get to it. So as you can see, the small one, the AAA, has a large hotspot. The AA has a more defined hotspot and a more crisp flood. And then you have your CR123 that has a wider flood and a small hotspot that's not as bright. We'll go to the next setting. This is the highest setting. Okay. So it's kind of hard to see on camera, but let's turn these sideways so that way those don't interrupt. So you have the AAA that puts out a large beam hotspot and a pretty good flood for its size. Okay, turn that one away. The AAA has a really small defined hotspot and a large crisp flood, which is really nice depending on what you're trying to look for in a light. If you're trying to pinpoint something, or if you want to actually flood more of the area. And then you have the CR123 that has a really defined hotspot on camera, but it's more in line with the AAA battery flashlight that has a more larger hotspot. It defines it a little bit better on camera, and that's not the case in person. Okay, because you have a flood that's really defined and almost equivalent to the hotspot. Okay. Okay, so this is where things get a little bit different. So the AAA and the AA flashlight have 3 settings. Okay, the CR123 has a 4th setting. So for the 4th setting, it's your turbo, and basically it's really bright. This is what gives you all your lumen output. Okay, and you can see the flood here and the defined hotspot. We'll compare all 3 of them. Okay, so that way you get a gist of it. And as you can see, you could see the beam actually pushing outward because it's a brighter light. Okay, this one here has the option to take a AA battery and a rechargeable AA. So by adding the rechargeable AA, it may add a 4th option. I'm not sure. If it does, I'll leave that spec in the description or in this video in either one of the corners. But I've seen that a lot in flashlights where unless they have a rechargeable battery in them, that's the only way you could optimize for the next setting. and I don't know if that's the case here because I don't have a rechargeable AA. So for now, this is what you get, and what you see is what you get. Okay, so I'll leave the lumen spec on each one of the settings, and also the top left or right hand corner, and everything else you need to know about the lights, all the technical aspects of it. I'll leave that in the corners. Okay, one thing I noticed is the CR123 is getting warm. The AA is still cool to the touch, and so is the AAA. So that's to be expected. Of course, it does have a turbo mode that's kicking in, and that's what's heating up your bezel. It's not extremely hot, like I could touch it. It's not too hot, but it is getting warm, and it's gonna probably intensify the heat over time. Also, it's a LED. It's a LED, so LEDs in an enclosure are gonna get warm. That's a given. So that's to be expected from LEDs. Okay, so also we'll go over if each one of these lights has a memory. Okay, so these are all on turbo. Okay, wow, this one's extremely warm at this point now. It's still easy on the hands, but you could definitely feel an increase in temperature. This has been running for a couple minutes now, and you could tell the difference. Okay, so to see if it has a memory mode for all three of these flashlights, this was on high, so we're going to turn it on once more, and as you can see, it's on high again. Okay, so this one has a memory mode. Turn this one on, it was on high, and it left off on high as well, so that one has a memory mode. So we'll turn this one on. As you can see, the first thing that it does is go to the lowest setting. That's because it doesn't have a memory mode on this one. So we'll go all the way to the highest setting and run that again. So the highest setting, turn it off, turn it back on, nothing, because it's at its lowest setting. The lowest setting, you really couldn't see much. It's like a moonlight output right now. Okay, so we know this one doesn't have a setting holder. Okay, so let's cycle through. This is low, this is the next one. Okay, so we'll see if it picks up on that second lumen output, and as you can see, it did. So we'll put it on low and do the same thing. So low, turn it off, turn it back on. I didn't wait long enough, so that's one thing to remember, is wait long enough when you turn it off. So it's off. Okay, we'll turn it again, and boom, back to the moonlight output. Same thing here, we'll turn it to the lowest setting. Okay, turn it off, turn it back on, boom, memory mode. Okay, all three of these flashlights are great flashlights. They all serve a purpose depending on what you want them for. The nicest looking one out of the bunch would be the U series, and that's because it's tiny and clean looking. You know, this is like your typical keychain light size. Okay, for someone who loses their lights, this one would be a good light to carry on your person at all times. Okay, for someone who wants something that's bright and still concealable, I would definitely recommend this one. These are great defense lights if you add that glass breaker on. So everything's going to be linked in the description below for where you could buy certain items just like that glass breaker or each one of these. It's kind of hard to get this one on Amazon with Prime shipping, but these two you could get with Prime shipping. Let me know what you think. Let me know which one you buy, and Everything's in the description below if you want to check them out. Okay, that's going to complete today's video. If you liked it, definitely give it a thumbs up. That's highly appreciated. If you want to see more content like this and other content I'll be posting on my YouTube channel, definitely consider subscribing. Until next time, I'll see you in the next one.